So you guys might remember this 394 from me putting in this seal because it had a bad seal. Okay, well, the number one reason for bad seals is bad bearings. And so I redid this seal, and now I'm going to have to redo it again. I didn't realize that it's got bad bearings. So let's see if we can hear it. Nothing there. But there's a rock there. I can hear it. It's faint, but I can hear it. So I knew I was going to tear this apart, so I figured what I would do is I'd do the machining to start with to optimize the squish on the cylinder head, which is around here somewhere. So now I have to tear the whole thing apart. So are we going to salvage that seal? The answer is maybe. First thing to do, if we're going to split this case, let's say you didn't have a case splitter. I do. I can do this pretty quick, but let's say you didn't have a case splitter. First things first, you got to get all the bolts out. So what you do is you take a new gasket and you can look at it and say, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 bolts. If you miss one, you're sunk. 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now all these case bolts I believe are the same. This is 6. Which is a little shorter. And then 7 is an odd bolt. So this bolt is, I believe, 60 millimeters long, which is different from the carburetor bolts, which are 70 millimeters. Of note, those bolts are, I believe, not available through Husky anymore, but you can just get them on eBay. I buy them in bulk. You buy 30 or 40 at a time, and then you're never going to run out, and they're really cheap. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's still in here, but it's loose. Okay, that one's still in there, but it's loose. So one other thing I forgot. The oil line. Pull that out. Looks like somebody was using crankcase oil in this saw. That's great. That gives me good feelings. Okay. So if you want to split it and you don't have a splitter, what are you going to do? The answer is heat it up. A rubber mallet and some heat and a glove, ideally. And if you got it, a temperature gun. .78 degrees, so not very warm. Let's warm it up. Now, all this goop in here is basically irrelevant. So, and I'm going to clean all this stuff up anyway, but I do need to get the case halves apart. So heat it. .205, 209, that might be pretty, we're close. Let's see. Here's your bolt. A little more heat. There. Boom. Believe it or not, there's no damage to the case halves, so. So you're going to put this one aside. It's hot anyway. And now, dump the oil out. Yeah, crankcase oil. Real classy, people. Keeping it classy. So let's do this side. How would we salvage that? If I use heat, it'll pull the bearing out, no problem, but it might ruin the seal. If I don't use heat, it might pull the crank through the bearing, and I still have to get the bearing out, which means I bugger the seal. Either way, unlikely to salvage the seal. Is it a big deal? No. Do I have lots of them? Yeah, I got lots of them. Not a big deal. Shucks. I got the heat out. Let's use the heat. It's really not worth trying to salvage the seal. But that obviously did it. Cool. Now, one of the problems doing it that way is now you have to pull the bearings off the crankshaft, which isn't a big deal. I've got a bearing puller, but if you don't have a bearing puller, now you're kind of up a creek. I've tried to do this without a bearing puller, and it's not easy. In fact, I've never been able to do it without a bearing puller. So, this is just my plumber's putty. There you go. There's our crank. I'm going to go clean this up. You've seen me pull bearings before, so don't need to see that. I'm going to clean this up and see if we can get it reassembled. So let's examine this. The ring in here, the circular spring, is perfectly intact. It's good. So that's good. The seal was in good. That was fine. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Play. Lots of it. Noisy. It's got the crunchies. See about this one. Yeah, play in this one too. Ooh. Yuck. You can hear that. So, this is a 20-year-old saw. This is probably early 90s. These saws get ridden hard and put away wet. Just how they get used. They need to be gotten cheap. I emphasize that. If you're buying one of these, you gotta get it 20 years old. It's got miles on it. They all do. Gotta get them cheap because you got a lot of work to do to take these apart and put them back together. Visually they don't look bad, but sure enough, they got play. That's definitely enough play to have a big problem. How about the main bearing? Side to side is no problem. This way, no problem. But it's the up and down play, and there is none, so it's good. So the crank is still good. The main bearings are shot, which is about what we expected. Gotta get this thing cleaned up. You know, I was thinking about trying to reuse this seal, but it's just too much risk. Too much risk. On this one, knock those out. Maybe they'd be fine, but you know what? You've heated these things up. It might be fine. It might not be. Let's go with it might not be. Polish up the cases. Got the metal cleaned up. Brand new bearings here. Nachi 6203s. Now these are double sealed, but I'm going to pull the seals right out because we don't need them. That's as easy as just to pull a seal out. Come greased from the factory. Little bit of anti-seize all the way around. Here a little goes a long way. You can do the bearings hot, you can do the bearings cold, whatever you like. I'm going to do them cold. Bearing has to be straight. Threaded rod, bunch of washers, hold one side, go for it on the other. Look at it, not quite straight. Okay, all you gotta do is undo it, straighten her out. Almost. Again, you only want to hit on the outer race. Not the inner race. You definitely do not want to hit on the inner race. So, there we go. Now it's straight. Washers go back, spacers. And it should be smooth, you know. When you do this, it should be pretty smooth. That's it. Where it stops, it stops. You're done. Bearing is in the pocket, ready to go. Let's do the other side. Again, brand new Nachi bearing. Sorry, the camera works a little off to the side today. When I clear out my desk, it'll be a little better. Anyway, same idea, no different. Nice thing about the 394s. This side is identical. I just got to bring the bearing all the way into the pocket. Oh yeah. Done. I gotta get the bearings off of here, which means I need my bearing puller. I'm gonna do that here in a minute. You guys have seen me do that, so you don't need me to do that all over again. So here we are, we've got the case half, PTO side. I prefer to start with the PTO side. So, surfaces are clean, degreased. Touch of oil here on the crank. That's good. Now I've shined this up a little bit, so this just goes right in through here. And as you can see, it by hand is not going to go. So, let's see, is this thinned? We take our threaded rod, we find the correct one. This is M12 by 1.25, I believe. Doesn't have to go all the way down, just most of the way is fine. So I usually bring it most of the way, then back it off. Sleeve goes on. Get your handle. I bring it all the way down. Back it off just a little bit. Close enough. A little bit of grease if you want. Not like it really needs much, if any. Nut goes down. Grab your ratchet on the nut. Crank away. And it just stops, and that's it. Reverse your ratchet. Take the whole thing apart. Go. Now we can double check the whole degreasing process here. Clean metal, that's what you want. Probably set this aside for the moment. Again, clean and degreased is what you want. So on here we can do the 1184, the positioning pins, and the gasket. So here's our 1184. Don't want piles on, just get rid of the shine of the metal. Positioning pins. There we go. Now we can set this aside for half a second. Bring this back, and we'll do the PTO side. Now the reason I do the passenger side, do the flywheel side first, is because I want it to tack up a little bit before I put that gasket on. And I'm going to put the gasket on the side with the positioning pins because it makes that a little bit easier. There you have that. We have just a minute for it to tack up, so you can make sure you get all your bolts. Most common one missing is this one. That one's important. Also have to have the dog. Blue Loctite. Nice fresh gasket set. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the long one. Looks good to me. Tiny bit of oil, it's good. Makes bringing the crank through the bearing a little easier. So we're essentially ready to go. Just need to pull it through. So this is actually a smaller rod than I have in my Generation 1 kit. But should work just fine. The threads on these do get a little bit buggered as you're taking things apart, so you do have to be careful. So now you can actually put your large sleeve on the small rod. It's going to be fine. Washer and a nut. Now here's a hot tip. If you want to take up that slack in there, all this slack, if you want to take all that up, it's not hard to do. 10 turns with some electrical tape will work. That's if you want to do that. Does it really matter? Probably not. Get our handle here, which I forgot about. go. Here's your handle, nut, washer. Crank it on down. Got to make sure these positioning pins are correct, per usual. Just crank it down. Pretty good. That's it. That's all you need. Reverse it. There you go. Remove all the stuff. We're going to put these bolts in. And what's nice is you've already got the Loctite in there, so that's essentially that for all the bolts. Drop them on in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, this one here may be a short bolt. I forget. Yeah, this one here is slightly shorter. Non-flanged bolt. This one's brand new. That's pretty good on all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we're missing this long one, which is here, which actually holds on the dog. So it goes on just like that, and then I have to put a bolt in there. There's your dog, which means the case is now good. Beautiful. So that's it. That's how you put a 394 case together anyway, with the tool set. How's that? That's together. Now I'm going to do some port work on this, but I figure I'll upload this, show you guys what I did. This should be a nice saw. You've seen me put seals in before, so I'm not going to show that, but hope you like this. Hope you like the tools. Email me if you're interested in tools. I can put you on a list if I don't have them in stock. And yeah, that's pretty much how that goes. So thanks everybody for putting up with the swinging camera here. Still trying to figure out what to do with the camera, but I think this is going to work pretty good so far. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.